Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Hope everybody is doing well. It is 6:30 and people are continuing to join. And we're gonna make sure that we get started on time. And Pastor McNary, are you on? If not, Donald, can I get you to open us up with prayer?
Sure. Heavenly Father, thank you for another day, for bringing us together to discuss the business of our community. Heavenly Father, we ask that you continue to guide us in the right path. Heavenly Father, continue to bless us with the ability to understand. In your name, Heavenly Father, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, thank you. I have the agenda. Is anyone from the fire department on? Chief Jones,
good evening. Can you hear me? It's Chief Jones. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you?
Doing good. Sorry, it was a late day, and so I'm actually driving, so I hope y'all can hear me, but doing good. So good evening, Sandtown Community. Chad Jones, your fire chief, and bring you greetings from all the men and women of the South Fulton Fire Rescue Department. This last month, we've been quite busy, still averaging roughly about 1,500 calls in the city a month, mostly EMS. And one of the biggest things we're still seeing, and really want to get out everybody to slow down. Unfortunately, last night over on Fairburn Road, right at the CSX bridge, we did have a car that tried to pass a MARTA bus, hit the bridge, and unfortunately 2 of the 3 passengers were killed in that wreck, and speed had a factor in it. So we're just asking people to slow down. The other thing is we're getting into that time of the year where we're going to have these pop-up storms, watching for trees coming down, standing water. So please be careful. Great news coming out of District 1. I just shared with the council and the mayor today. My team has been working with Fulton County, who owns 4 properties over on Fulton Industrial Boulevard. That's the Executive Inn, Knights Inn, the Super Inn, and I know I'm missing one, the Red Roof Inn. And by next week, they told us by March the 10th, they should have a demolition plan to bring all 4 of those buildings down and get them out of our community, which would be huge because there's a lot of not only fires, but other activities that go along with those properties that we'd just like to get out of our city. Positive note, apparatus facilities, we're doing good. A bid just came back, and we should be purchasing another engine and another ladder this year for the city. Now, build time is about a year to a year and a half, so we won't see them until next year, but those bids have come back. For our training facility and property down on Cascade Palmetto, we are finishing up. The bid will be going out for the architect, and on the heels of it would be the construction manager at risk, RFP. So those properties are moving forward. As far as community service, if you have been watching, we sent out notifications. Our Camp Embers, which is our camp dedicated just to high school women and the camp is run by women in the fire and police service for mentoring, encouraging, inspiring. Last year we had 9. 2 of those young ladies have applied and are going through our process. This year we have 18 women signed up to go through our camp. So we're really excited, and that camp will be April 3rd through the 7th. The application process did close, so we can get all of that in process. As far as our hiring, we're doing really good. We got 13 in our academy that should be finishing up in April. If they pass everything, we'll swear them in and get them into the field. And we have 2 more classes that we are in the process of hiring that should come in June. So really positive getting our vacancies filled. And other than that, just doing the work of the people. So if y'all have any questions, please let me know. I'll be here for a little bit. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear about those properties, those 3 properties that are going to be demolished on Fulton Industrial. Does anyone have any questions for Chief Jones? Feel free to go ahead and ask. All righty. Well, Chief Jones, thank you very much. Drive safely out
Thank
there.
y'all.
I know it's wet. And
Yes, ma'am.
my husband just got off a 285. There was a 12-car pileup, and he said it was awful. So he just got home. So
Yes.
be careful.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, too.
Okay. Do we have anybody from the police? Okay. Is Mr. McCullors on the phone, on the call? Is Mr. McCullors, who is our guest tonight, is he on the call? Okay, Ms. Warren, you're on the call. We're gonna go ahead with your update, and hopefully Mr. McCullors will join us shortly.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is pretty wet out here in these South Fulton streets. So hold on one second, I'm trying to get settled. Thank you guys for having me. The last time that we spoke, we had just finished up the rezoning and the redistricting for Fulton County Schools. We are currently going through budget season. And so one of the things that we're doing is our schools, as you know, when you move kids from school to school, you also have to deal with the budgets. And so right now we're building our Fulton County Schools budget. I will drop some links in the chat for you guys. We haven't gotten too far in it, and that we are looking at allotments, and allotments basically tell us how we staff the schools based on the number of students they have and the programs they have. A big part of the conversation for this March meeting will be enrollment for the schools. And what we do each year, our Office of Operational Planning, they look at all permits, all permits that have been pulled in Fulton County and the plan development size of them. And so right now they're forecasting based on what our enrollment will be for this upcoming year. As you guys know, and I've spoken about this several times, is that in South Fulton County, we have a lot of subdivisions that are growing. If you go on West Stubbs, which isn't far from the Sandtown community, you see that there are huge developments coming on both ends of West Stubbs. There's apartments coming all over. There's homes coming all over. And so we use those projections, those permits that are pulled and approved, to see how many seats will be available in our schools. What we've seen, and I can put this link in the chat also when I finish, is that at redistricting, our basic middle school, elementary schools seat about 850 kids based on Georgia Department of Education, based on their estimates. Our high schools sit about 2,100 and our middle schools about 1,000. None of our elementary schools other than Wolf Creek Elementary School is really almost to that 800. I'm sorry, Wolf Creek at EC West. But what we're seeing, if you look at the projections, is that each year they're getting higher and higher. And so the superintendent just came to us and we're talking about facilities. One of the things that is top of mind for me is looking out at the next, we're working on our capital plan 2027, which is basically how we build schools, how we improve on schools and those type of things. And so every summer, so we're looking at our capital plan 2027, and we're about to start planning for capital plan 2032. And so let me step back a little bit. The way that traditionally new buildings, upgrades, it happens in the summer. And so we had capital plan 2022. We still have to build two schools from that. One was North Springs and one was Conley Hills. But in 2027, we have, not Stonewall Tail, Camp Creek Middle School. We have SL Lewis. We have Palmetto Elementary School, some schools that are supposed to be built. We also each summer spend the entire summer, basically as the day school gets out, we replace roofs. We have A. Philip Randolph that will be getting a new roof. Sandtown had some work done this summer. Westlake's getting their weight room redone, new flooring and new painting and some additional weights. And so I say all of that to say is that we fleshed out 2027. And so now we're looking at 2032. And what we suspect, and we've had these conversations before, is that because of the building down here and because the land is going so quickly, is thinking about where we would put new schools, totally not online schools, and looking at property and looking at some of those conditions. So right now, if you look at A. Philip Randolph, they have about 400 to 500 kids. The building can roughly fit about 700 to 800 kids. You have Stonewall Tail Elementary School that sits at almost 700. They can fit about 800 kids. And of course, Westlake is at its capacity right now. We are projected in the next 2 years to go to from 2,500 in August. We are now at 2,100. And next year, we estimate about 1,900 to 2,000 children. So while we're planning for it and making improvements and also planning on building new builds, we also are taking the position that we're starting to think about what land would we need to make buildings happening for our schools. And so just a lot going on. We are also looking at this time of year. We've had lots of conversations with the community at my community meeting last month around as these buildings are coming on, making sure that, we've been diligent so that the spaces that are in our schools, that we make sure that residents are actually in those slots and not people who live outside of the community. But also to having this conversation about students and how can we bridge the gap for some of our students around behavior and just needs and programming. I talked about this a little bit last time. We're seeing a lot of our elementary kids, and I'm flipping a little bit from capital plan, which is our building, to social emotional needing because it kind of feeds hand in hand. We're seeing a lot of our elementary kids coming with us with a lot of mental health issues. And so one of the things that we have done starting this fall, we are using College Park Elementary School as a therapeutic school for K-5 students. And so these would be babies who just have some challenges, and it's not a alternative school, but if a child is having difficulties, they would go there for 30 days, get intensive therapeutic work, still get their work, and then they would cycle back to their home school. So just a lot going on with trying to plan a budget, look at development and plan accordingly, and meet the emotional needs. I say all of that to say is that summer is upon us. And when kids are not in school, we know all kinds of things can happen. So yesterday, our summer school activity went out for parents, whether you have a child who needs to recover a credit, or you have a child who is behind in credits, or has not done well in a class. And so I say all those things and that ultimately we are busy. We had Ms. Davis, and I believe Ms. Lee, who came to our last our board meeting, and the crust of the Sandtown community is that we're growing in leaps and bounds, and there's going to be a lot of building and a lot of updates coming. And so, as we talk about the growth and we welcome the growth and we want it, just know that we're going to be responding to it. Rezoning we just got done with but also trying to think of some creative ways. The superintendent has come to us and asked us to build smaller high schools in certain areas, for smaller classrooms, just to divvy up kind of how we do our schools. If you look at a school like Global Impact, their top students are 900, so they can have 900 kids. And that was done purposely. So we just have a lot going on, a lot of work. But I think these are things that are going to help us. At the last board meeting, one of the things that really struck with me, and you guys will see this next month at our March work session, is that, you know, when North Fulton was growing in leaps and bounds, there were schools that were being built every year. And so one of the things that I've asked the superintendent to do is we have taken in the last 6 years, we've taken a little bit longer on construction. I've asked him to figure out a way to, instead of trying to build within 24 months, building schools in 12 to 14 months. And so that is something that has been on my mind, because as we continue to get new subdivisions and apartments and townhomes, we have to keep up with the building. And so we just had a really big meeting about that. And so I asked him to look at some of the market conditions and figure out where we could build quickly and still build facilities that are of quality. And so of course we know there are some, you know, holdups with equipment and things, but one of the things I really pushed him for was, we can't build a school in 24 months. We need to shorten that time. Because I believe as this growth continues, especially down Cascade Palmetto, especially in the Sandtown community and our Fairburn community and our Union City community, we just have to start building even more. So I'm going to pause because I talked about a lot. And if anybody has any questions they would like for me to cover.
Feel free to, it's open for discussion. Feel free to just ask any questions of Ms. Warren. And it was myself and the other person was Ms. Flowers.
Ms. Flowers, okay,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you,
Mhm.
thank you. And I want to say when they came, it was so refreshing to see them, because they gave a lot of historical perspective on our schools, and some of the things that are happening. Specifically, you know, that there has been a longstanding issue of Westlake being overcrowded, and just some of the things that were happening. So it was really good. I think Ms. Thomas had her hand up. Ms. Davis.
Yes, she does. Ms. Thomas, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the information that you've just shared with us. I was just curious, what types of issues are the young people having in regards to the mental issues or the mental behaviors?
Yes, ma'am. It varies. So we see a lot of kids who, because, and I don't want to say because, but they've been home for maybe a year, 2 years due to COVID, or when COVID was, and they just don't have the social skills. So if I dislike something, instead of me going to someone and saying, I have this issue, how can we solve it? We have found that kids have come back to the buildings very angry, very anxious. And we see a lot of the behavior also exhibited with the adults. Can't really come to a consensus, don't know how to properly channel anger, or just any type of feelings. We're also seeing a large, and a lot of it is coming from social media. So I'll use Sandtown as an example. On any given day, a kid has done something the night before while they're home and they've put it on social media. So they might say, and I'll just use my colleague, Miss Gumbs. They might say, me and Miss Gumbs have a disagreement. They put it on social media. They spread it throughout school. So now the school has to spend the first 3-4 hours of the day interviewing kids, finding out what's happening and giving out punishment. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're also seeing a lot of our teenagers where there's just no supervision. There's no supervision. They're coming to school with behaviors that are not age-like. So for an example, I've gotten in trouble in the community or in a community outside of here, and I come to school and I feel like that I don't have to listen to anyone. And so our principals have drawn a hard line in that we want to support our kids. We want to make sure they have access to our counselors. They want to make sure we have access to our mental health social workers. But they've had to draw a hard line on a lot of these behaviors because it's disrupting the school day. At Westlake alone, I believe we have 7 counselors. And it might even be 8, but we at least have 7, and that's not including the mental health social worker. That's not including our partners like Odyssey that come in and do outside counseling treatment. And so I say all of that to say it's really just a microcosm of society. Whatever you see in the paper, people arguing, the kids are bringing it in. And so we really are trying to work with our families, and that this is just not the space for that. We're seeing a lot of middle school kids have access to things they should not have access to. So if any parents are online tonight, looking through their phone, just putting some safeguards on there, because they'll have it, but then they'll show 5 or 6 kids at the school something that's inappropriate. And then our principals have to go through and investigate and issue out consequences. So it makes our jobs really, really difficult. And so these are just some of the challenges with student behavior that we are seeing.
Okay, and just a follow up to that. So what is the parental involvement as far as responsibilities and accountabilities and working with their children in these schools to help rectify those?
Yeah, a lot of our principals have started to, I know in elementary and middle school, having the parents actually come up there and have class with their kids. But one of the things that we have been very lucky in, especially in some of those behaviors that can turn criminal-like, we have partnered with the DA's office, so Fonnie Willis. And what that has allowed us to do is to allow them to mandate certain training, certain classes for parents. So if you're a child and you get in trouble, and I'm just using this as an example for a stolen car, their office is able to mandate things and work with the schools so that even though while the student is in alternative school for whatever violation, they can mandate certain things for those families. On the smaller level, for some of those behaviors, we've had our parent liaisons reach out, conferences. We have our counselors spend a lot of time on mediating issues within the families, within the communities. But to be honest, it's a lot. It's a lot for our school staff because once we have helped and given resources, and now we have to figure out, how to still do the job at hand, which is educate children. So it has been difficult for our schools. And that's one of the reasons that we saw the need for the therapeutic school K-5, because we had babies as young as 7 years old just melting down when they come to school. They've been home for a year, 2 years from COVID. They're back in, they're anxious. And so we just had to put some things in place to help them. So it's a complicated answer, but really our partnerships are probably helping us the most with some of our families that are the most challenged.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions of Ms. Warren?
I
Yes.
have a comment.
I'm sorry, whoever that is, go right ahead.
Thank you. This is Brenda Lee Foster. I'm a realtor in the South Fulton area. Our office is off of Camp Creek Parkway. And my family and I have lived in South Fulton since 1975. I've raised a son. He's now in his 40s. And the disciplinary things is what, as you well know, it seems like the age has started younger than years past, decades past, but it's not something that's a surprise as kids go through their maturation. May I suggest, because we really want to keep our area marketable to the best of the population as possible. And working with our law enforcement, we want to keep crime low to help our property values continue to rise and our area to be very, very marketable. Let me just say this, all of Georgia is very, very marketable, but there's some areas that are getting a lot more attention. And many times it's because they do have something in place to keep the kids under control. I'm going to make a suggestion, maybe a couple of suggestions. Why not try to nip this in the bud, or at least get a good control over it this summer, starting in the summer, with perhaps some meetings with law enforcement to encourage the students to really, become good citizens. Clergy, you've got a chaplain in South Fulton at the law enforcement department that perhaps you can invite both children and their parents in a month or two before school starts. Also, perhaps even with the those who are having some challenges, personality challenges, to start them in the summer, so that they're not having some sort of shock. Well, I'm leaving my home, the summer's over, and now I'm being put in an environment that they may feel uncomfortable with. Just taking the shock, a little bit of the edge and the shock out of it by starting sooner. And at the same time, if at that point in time in the summer, you could get a grip on who the kids are that are really serious about their education and that want to go forth and excel, you can at that time decide, okay, where we need to shift this population, if at all possible. But it's worth some creativity. I don't know if you have a group of people that are thinking in terms of doing things not the traditional way, but really ahead with technology and all the things that the kids are attracted to. If you can get kids thinking the right way, then they do excel. I hear the comment about kids acting out all the time, but the one grandma, I'm in that category, great grandma even, got the Boys and Girls Club involved with her great grandson, who the police knew very well. He come to school, violence with the teacher, things like that. We don't want to lose our good teaching staff either. If they feel like their lives are in jeopardy in any kind of way, nobody wants that. We want a calm school atmosphere. So that would be my suggestion. Try to start earlier rather than on day one of the school season. Get the teachers involved to brainstorm some things they would possibly like to see. The idea of putting schools up in 12 months, I'd have to think about that a little bit, but definitely with some emphasis on security. We want our kids safe. We want our area to be known as a safe school environment. So again, maybe working with law enforcement, some of your nonprofit organizations that really work with young people, clergy, just get everybody together and brainstorm this thing and just let them know, we need a change. We really need a change because Georgia is attracting so many people. A lot of the money is going north. We want it to come south. And we want it to come south because the things that attract people to an area, good schools, good roads, safety, all those things, we want. We really, really want for our community. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely,
Thank you,
Ms.
Ms. Foster.
And I want to add, one of the things that, so there's a couple of things. One of the things that we did this year is that we've partnered with all of the municipalities and we meet, I want to say monthly, but it might be bi-monthly. And we just had a meeting last week where the municipal mayors, our chief of polices, we meet and we share data. That happens all the time, but it's really a strategic planning. I believe Fulton County Commissioner Rob Pitts helped facilitate that. So we do meet cross-functionally for that to look at some of those things. For some of those who are just coming on the meeting today, we spent about $20 million on upgrades and facilities safety just this year. And so we talked about this a little bit before, and that all of our high schools are huge. Our high schools have 40+ doors. And so making sure that not only we have alarms on all the doors, but also we have readers so that we know who is coming on our campus. So when you drive on a Fulton County School campus, we have cameras, they're like flock cameras that tell us who's coming in and who's coming out. But in addition to that, the cameras that we have, many of the things that we see is from our cameras because they're tag readers. Yes, Mr. Davis. That's what we see. We also have invested in more security officers, but also in more resources for mental health. One of the things that we hear about all the time is, who are your half flyers and, what do you do with that? That's a lot of the reason that we offer those resources. So in any given school, the principals know who our students are who are having difficulty. And so that's where we push our resources to, just to make sure that we are making sure that we are seeing them and that we are working with them and helping with some of that prevention piece. One of the things that we have seen, and this is, I guess it's just a sign of the times, is that kids can get information to one another so quickly. And if I had to take a guess, I would say 90% of any issue in any area is social media. The kids, not even in school, on the weekends in the community, they will send a text, and all of them, this is just an example of meeting at Sandtown Park, and 300 kids can show up. That easy. So when we talk about those things, we want to make sure that the community knows that the school district and City of South Fulton Police work very well hand in hand together. We share information, our police force and their police force, and all our municipalities. One of the things that I think would be a deterrent for a lot of this is taking the phones from children. Because what we're seeing is things that are happening right now at 7 o'clock at night. The kids come to school and the school has to respond to it. But I say all of that to say, and that I don't want to paint this picture that the schools are out of control. I just left Langston, Renaissance, and Oakley Elementary School today. And one of the things that I think we have to put in perspective, and I'm in this category also, is that 10 to 15 kids at any school, or it's not the whole school population. When I look at Westlake, and they just had a great IB program last night, they had a great honors award program on Tuesday. There were easily 400 to 500 kids who go every day and do the right thing. When I went to Langston Hughes this morning, they had hundreds of kids for their honors program. Oakley Elementary School has chickens and they're raising these things. So are there areas to work on? Absolutely. The kids are a microcosm of society, but also knowing that in every school, minus those 10 to 20% of knuckleheads that we all see, there are 90% of kids going to school and doing what's right. So much so that kids are getting millions of dollars of scholarship money, that they're going to elite universities, they're going to HBCUs, they're doing great things. Sandtown Middle School is taking kids on an international trip next year out of the country. So these are just things that are happening, but it's also important to balance that. As I look at our home values and how much they've gone up, and I speak to my colleagues up north, they have a lot of space in their schools because people are not buying up there. So their space, and down here, people are buying. So I just wanted to say that, and that it's not all doom and gloom. We have our Langston Hughes girls who are going to the Final Four, the only team out of the area. And in addition, we have 75 kids at Langston Hughes who are on track to have their dual enrollment degrees this May. So it's a lot of good things. But with those good things, we also have to make sure that, you know, we address all. So it's a double-edged sword. You want to make sure that you're doing right. But you also want to make sure that we are also addressing the good that's happening.
If I might add one couple of final remarks, I noticed something when my son was in middle school. We lived in DeKalb County in the district at that time. The middle school was called Killer Grove. It was Miller Grove, but it was called Killer Grove. And because I enrolled my son in that school, coming from elementary school, it came from a Christian school, from elementary school to middle school. There seemed not to be a lot of monitoring of the classes. Kids were left alone. At that time, it was industrial arts. I don't know what it's called now. But I overheard a conversation on a phone that he had purchased from somebody. And the conversation was terrible. But anyway, long story short, I took him out of middle school and put him back into a Christian school environment where his personality immediately changed. The environment changed a great deal. And they were under the ABECA program where, you know, the kids basically all grades are in one class and they're all self-teaching almost. But that didn't make the biggest difference in my son. The biggest difference was I didn't know, I was a divorcee, that his dad, every time he got an A or a B, his dad gave him $5. And I didn't find this out until a while down the road, but I'm just wondering if at the beginning of school, the parents and the school administration could come up with some sort of rewards program where it's related to good personality or good grades. Kids want to be rewarded. Everybody wants to be rewarded, and everybody wants recognition, even the worst of the worst. As far as the kids gathering at night, I agree, social media is a problem. But at the same time, with say for instance, they come to school and they know there's going to be trouble. Well, the police have social media, you have social media. If you have an emergency shift plan where, okay, if we know there's going to be trouble, then these kids are going to go elsewhere for that day until we can, know exactly what's going on. It's like you have to think ahead of what they're doing. You see what they're doing, but they're as limited with social media as administration and law enforcement is. They can only go so far, they can only do so much. But again, possibly some brainstorming. And lastly, I do want to let everybody leave this conversation with this thought in mind. The weather in California is driving the population this way. Tornadoes in Texas, a political upheaval in the south of us, south of the United States, weather conditions in the north. Georgia is so well positioned that it would behoove us to really get some people, some experts in, even marketing people that perhaps could give some creative ideas on how to channel their youthful energy in the positive directions and really get this talent, identify talent early, identify the not only the athletic skills, the intellectual skills, the music skills, these IT skills.
Ms. Foster, Ms.
Yeah,
Foster, I
yeah.
appreciate all of your comments.
And
They're
I'm
just
done.
wonderful. I got two
I'm-
other people that
Okay, I'm done.
want us to say, but Ivory was next, and then we'll have Ms. Brown. Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. I
Thank you,
hate
Ms.
to cut you off, but
Yeah,
I got two
cool.
other
No.
people that want to speak.
Thank
I'm
you, Ms.
done.
Foster.
Thank you. Thank you.
Deborah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank our school board representative, Ms. Warren. She always gives an outstanding report,
Thank you.
and she's done a fantastic job. And I do hope that you'll be serving on the board for a long time. You may not feel that way, but we have been missing the quality of report that you give us. Now, my question is, in trying to address the classroom situation and what's going on there, I was wondering, you know how they say if you want to lose weight or something like that, that you find a partner that sometimes, or even carrying the load. If two people are carrying it, it makes it easier on each one.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering if there is a program, or if we could think of something whereby in individual classrooms where you can put parents that could work together. And because the parents are working together, that would help the students to work together. I just think that that's a part of what's missing.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
if you say a family that's on target for everything, it's doing great, and you have another family where there are some deficiencies, maybe that one-on-one interaction would be good for the parent gaining better skills to help their children through the educational process. And also it would an opportunity for the child to learn from, because of the friendship, because of the relationship between the parents, the students would have a relationship and they could learn from each other. I remember when I was in elementary school, we were grouped, and usually when the teacher would, uh, the group that was doing better, because you only have so much time to spend, then when she had to go to another group, the best group could work with those who were not up to par. I'm just wondering if we will consider something like that.
Yes, ma'am. I actually, the reason why I walked those schools is I walked them with the head of HR, because as you guys all know, we are having faith in just not enough teachers. So one of the things that Fulton County Schools is working to bring back pending board approval is this idea of part-time teachers. So right now, what we're hearing, especially with the millennials, is that many of them don't want to be boxed into a job where they're working 8-9 hours a day. And so what we're going to do is we're bringing these part-time positions where you can work morning, you can work afternoon, and we can kind of use you in those spaces to help the teachers. But also the second part of that is this idea of parents. I know Ms. Brown is on here. Some other Sandtown parents are on here. All of our schools, we would love to have the parents in as long as they've gotten their volunteer check. But what we found, especially in Sandtown, is that a couple of the parents have banded together and we go and volunteer. People pop up in classrooms, and you're right. It is a world of difference when a parent comes in there. And so I think more parents need to know about this, and they need to come and see their children in action, good or bad, right? And one of the things that we've seen is that Mr. Tatum has come and he's helped monitor lunch, and the kids like it. You would be surprised that the middle school kids, a lot of them, they're not embarrassed to have their parents come. But it makes them know that you're watching them. Because in elementary kids' school, they're used to parents being in and out of there. So middle school and high school, they get a little bit used to thinking that they're grown. And so we welcome parents to come in there as long as they have their volunteer check. And also for those kids who don't have, the parent may work 12-hour days, may not be able to come, it also helps with them. I also want to encourage our our members on here tonight that at each of all of our schools, we have a lot of good after school and in-school programs. So if I go to Sandtown, I think about their jazz band, I think about their technology student association club, who's winning awards and doing things. And that for a lot of our kids, we've noticed that getting them in activities, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, does a world of difference for their behavior, keeping them busy. It's the old school adage of, you know, my mom had me busy from the time I left for school till about 7, 8 o'clock at night. And we are finding it is making a world of difference. And so a lot of this that we see is also just from idle time for kids. And so I say that for those who are on here, if you have a child that maybe they're not in trouble, maybe they're just at home too much, you're watching too much TV. I really want to encourage you to reach out and see what programs are at the schools so that we can get them in there and so that we can give kids something positive to do. There's lots of summer free summer, what do you call it? Summer camps that are coming up. Saw a lot of those that are low cost. And so just getting kids in something positive. And that makes a world of difference also.
Ms. Brown, your hand is up.
Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to say to Ms. Warren that I would love to get your information because I would love to speak with you one-on-one. I am an adoptive parent of 10 children, and one of my kids are young adults now, and we broke that generational curse, but it took parental guidance in order to do that. I want to say when individuals, I am a huge parental advocate and I am a huge children's advocate. I'm also a mental health advocate. Just like car changes, fashion design changes, the environment changes our kids. And let me repeat that. The environment changes our kids. Our kids had nothing to do with all these different drugs coming into our community. They had nothing to do with all of the murder and the drug dealers coming in our community, offering them money or whatever. What I would like to see is more parental support in the school system. I was up there yesterday at Sandtown, walking through with the counselor with my granddaughter. We are now raising our granddaughter. And we walked through and I was telling her I have a nonprofit for grandparents raising a grandchild. And she said, Ms. Brown, I have so many grandparents. I said, let me give you our information. Once a month we meet. We have this support group. It's about mental health, but it's also about resources in the community. Odyssey is one of them, but there are a lot more. I'm a certified peer specialist parent. Parents need peer-to-peer support. And they need lived experience so they won't feel like, oh, they just trying to tell me what to do and da. So I'm going to stop right there and say, Ms. Warren, if you don't mind, give me your information.
Yes,
I want to set up an appointment with you and see what we can do in the school. Because at one time up at, what's the name of the school? The elementary school. That's where Dr. Rowell used to be with that parent liaison. Do they still have those in the school now?
Yes, ma'am. We have parent liaisons. Yes, ma'am. We do.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. You give me your information. I'll make an appointment with you. I'm ready.
Yes, ma'am. And I put my email in the thing, and I'll put my phone. I'll put my phone number in the chat also. So one of the things that I think that's great, and you hit the nail on the head, they need peer to peer. And what we're seeing is just parents need support. They need support. And what we're seeing is that this isn't necessarily, people will say, oh, it's a certain type of kid that gets in trouble. It's a kid who lives in $1 million home who's in trouble.
That's right. That's right. That is so right. That is so right.
It's not necessarily the kids who some people say, well, the kids in a park. Many times it is kids who have every resource available to them, but it goes back to parents needing help on how to parent them in this age of technology and holding the kids accountable to something bigger than who they are. So I'll stop on my soapbox. I've taken up a lot of time, but like Ms. Brown says, we're bringing Watchdogs program back at Sandtown, more adult presence. They just need adults. They just need adults. And we would love to have you guys.
Well, I'm gonna email you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the good work you do.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for a very healthy discussion on education. This is good. And I hope that if there's anything that the association can do to help in this effort, Ms. Warren, you would let us know. We have a lot of I always feel like we have a lot of retired teachers in our community. And I think that it would be great if we could kind of harness our resources that we have here, and they get involved with the schools. If they come and read to the kids in elementary schools, or doing just pick a day. And I think it makes a big difference when adults are in the schools with their students. So with that,
Can I say one last thing, Ms. Davis?
sure.
So what I'll do is I'll put you on an email with Ms. Freeman, the principal at A. Philip Randolph, Marissa, and I'll with Mr. Adams at Westlake. And
Mhm.
let's see if we can get a common time. I don't know, their schedules are so busy. See if we get a common time to meet to see how we can partner with Sandtown organization for some of these school events they have where they just need hands on deck. And for you, it'll be good for you guys to see the schools, but it'll also be good for, for many of you guys who have fought for the schools for so long to see them now and figure out how we can bridge the gap.
That'll be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Looking forward to it. Well, y'all, we have someone from the police that's on the call, so we're gonna give him an opportunity to speak. And also after that, our guest, Mr. McCullors, who is from the DOT. Let me make sure get his title correct. He is on the call. He was running a little late. So we'll have the police, and then we will have Mr. McCullors after that. So our representative from the police department.
Should be Corporal Ayers.
Corporal, are you there?
The South Fulton Police Department.
Corporal, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello, how are you guys? This is Major Denard with the City of South Fulton Police Department.
Oh,
I just
okay.
want to
I
let you know
see
that
you.
when it comes to kids, we are actually working on programs for the summer called our PARA program.
We can hear you. There is a delay, I think.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I'm on the road traveling, but we are actually anticipating a lot of programs in the city of South Fulton for our kids this summer. We're working on our Paris program, which will be run out of Welcome All Park. We'll actually have a lot of opportunities for kids now to get finalized. Hopefully within next week, we should have everything finalized with that. We're looking forward to this partnership of continuing to work with schools and engage our kids.
Okay.
Did you hear me?
Yes. Are you finished? I'm sorry, there's a delay in us hearing you.
Hello?
Yes. Major, I think there's a delay in us hearing
I'm
what
sorry.
you're saying.
It is. I'm sorry, I'm on the road traveling. But
Okay.
yeah, but we're working on some like I said, working on the Paris program for the kids this summer. And we're looking forward to this continuing this partnership of helping save our youth and keep our kids involved.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information. I just got a message. Councilman Gumbs has asked to speak before Mr. McCullors because she needs to get off in about 5 minutes. So Mr. McCullors, if you can hold on, we will let Councilman Gumbs go now, and then we'll let you come on right after that.
Okay, thank you so much for recognizing me, and I appreciate you adjusting your schedule so I could take another call, which is related to city business. So good evening, everyone. And also, I don't know how to even go behind school board member Francesca Warren, because she always gives dynamic information on the schools, and I'm really proud of her. But I just wanted to kind of give you all a few things. Just to give you an update again, the sidewalks for the Enon Road area is still slated for April to begin construction on April this year. And then also too, we have set a date for groundbreaking for the stoplight at Campbellton and Stonewall Tail. A flyer should be coming shortly, but that date has been set for March the 20th. So I do anticipate that it will be a lot of residents from the Sandtown area that will be there, especially around all of the area, because again, that is one of the dangerous corridors, and we've been fighting for quite some time to get this light, and we're ready for it to be there. I do know that the city is also in the process of searching for a city home. So there will be some things coming up probably within the next couple of months, especially towards the end of our council meetings for March and April, where we will be having some discussion about locating a city home. There have been a few projects that have been suggested and some that have been eliminated. So we will be revealing very shortly of where our new city home will be. I think that'll be a great thing to get everybody excited about all the wonderful things that are happening in the city of South Fulton. Also, too, we are having our District 2 sanitation meeting that will be on March the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. at the Wolf Creek Library. This sanitation meeting is open to everyone that lives in that immediate area, so we don't draw lines. You can definitely come and get your questions answered in regards to sanitation. This program will definitely be rolling out in June, so we want to make sure that you all are there and have all of your questions answered. Certainly, you all know that this is Women's History Month. So I do want you to be aware that we're having a women's small business mixer on March the 30th at 6 p.m. at Fresh to Earth Herb Shop. This give women within the South Fulton region an opportunity to network, connect and support, and then also share resources as well. We had one last year and it did extremely well. We want to see people come out and do it again. So we're looking forward to that. Other than that, with the Wolf Creek Eden Road project, residents are still working on that particular project with the developer. I do know that there are some questions about a project that is at West Stubbs and Butner Road, and it's a gas station that is being proposed. That is absolutely not the case. I do believe at this point in time that developer has taken some time to table that particular project. So they will not be right now at this point in time going through a rezoning process. Overall, for the particular area in District 2, crime is down overall, but there has been an uptick in petty thefts and domestic violence. I continue to make sure that we are working with the chief and that we also are working with our immediate police representatives to ensure that we all are safe. Again, I do encourage residents to make sure that they stay focused and pay attention to all things. And lastly, Wolf Creek Amphitheater, we are having the pipes that burst during that last little winter break we had. They will be repaired very shortly. It should be done within probably a week or so. And then also too, all of the other minor repairs that are capital projects will also be addressed. As mentioned before, we are addressing the curtains. We've secured funding to address the stage curtains and to also take care of the televisions that are at the Wolf Creek Amphitheater. There is an RFP that has closed. They're in the process of awarding a promotions contract. So we're hoping that we'll at least get a few concerts in this summer so we can take advantage of the Wolf Creek Amphitheater. And lastly, paving will start. Repairs will be beginning as they continue to warm up for the spring. So stay tuned to that. We will be releasing a T-Splosh list. I think most of the area, especially in maybe District 2 and District 1, we're taking care of the first T-Splosh, but there are some additional things. Fisher Homes is a new developer that will be coming to the area. They are looking at a project that is off of Demooney Road. The project sounds amazing. I will make sure that both communities, Sandtown and Cliftondale, are very aware of it. This is exciting because we haven't had a different builder such as like Fisher Homes coming through, and I think that this will be exciting. And lastly, the war on litter. I do know that Brandon E has joined District 2 full time. He is running the district office. So he is there and setting up office hours as well. He was handling constituent services. So now he has taken on me full time, and that is a big job. So I appreciate him. But he has been really pushing and helping us with the war on litter, looking at legislation, again, working on the plastic free, connecting with the Chattahoochee rivers and things of that nature. So we are doing extremely well in the city of South Fulton. If you have any questions, please feel free to inbox me or give me a call. You all know where to find me, and I am looking forward to continuing to support you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Johnson. It's 7:29, so I know you gotta go and get on the call. And if anyone has any questions, Harvey has put some information in the chat. You can put your questions in the chat and we'll make sure we get them to her.
Oh, and I forgot one thing, Miss Debbie, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, sure.
The Starbucks grand opening. Yes, it has been set. Oh my gosh, Brandon, do you know the date? I'm trying
March
to remember.
10th, I know, I'll tell it.
So March 10th, at the Sandtown crossing, I'm so excited to have our first Starbucks in the city of South Fulton. I know we're all probably gonna be spending a lot of time over there. I know with me, I love coffee and I don't have to wait for like an hour in the one down at Camp Creek. So
If I can get a picture, I'm gonna put a picture up if I can figure out, it's on my phone. It is.
I got it. I got it.
Harvey, put it up so everybody can see it. It is fabulous.
yes. And I would encourage every resident in the area to come out and support and give them a warm welcome because we are excited for them to be here.
Yeah, great, thank you. Harvey, you can put it up, but in the meantime, Mr. McCullors, I see you're here. He is with the Department of Transportation, and we had invited him from the last meeting. People have been talking about the traffic and the projects that are going on, so we thought, well, let's invite them and they can kind of give us an overview of the things that they are working on in the community. So with that said, Mr. McCullors, you're up.
Good evening, good evening. Do you hear me? Do I have good connection?
Yes.
Hey, sorry about the delay. You're arriving late. I'm trying to rehab a torn ACL right now, so just got a lot going on. But yeah, good evening, everyone. I am Rubin McCullors. I am the area manager, area engineer. I manage all of the construction, the maintenance issues, maintenance concerns for this for Clayton County, South Fulton, and Douglas. I don't really have any major updates. I know Mr. Davis reached out to me regarding some information about an update for I think it's a project that's coming in that area. But a lot of the projects are geared out of the pre-construction office, traffic operations. I work closely with them. I try to be an extension of them. So whenever someone reach out to me about a traffic operation concern, I try to, take a deep dive into the situation and get with my partners and try to get it resolved. But we're just all overworked and don't always have an answer like everyone expect. And again, I do apologize, Mr. Davis. I was trying to get that update for you at the time of this meeting, but I just couldn't get my partners to deliver that. And I mainly deal with the construction projects. Once I get a construction project, my job is to make sure that project is built according to the plans and the specification, make sure the taxpayers are getting what they're paying taxes for. And then I'm also responsible for all the maintenance concerns in the area. So that is my primary responsibility. I do appreciate inviting me to these meetings. I tell you, hearing that's the education stuff really resonated with me. I have a 3 and a 4-year-old, so I'm all about their future. So I was taking a lot of notes. But I do see that Mr. Harvey, someone put my information in the chat. That is my email address if you ever need anything regarding construction, anything, maintenance, traffic operation, design. That is my contact. You can reach out to me.
what I was mostly, interested in, we got the project. I hear myself, but we have the project at the corner of Hamilton and, Camp Creek that's coming. And from Reynolds on up to cross the intersection, there is some work that's being done to help with the traffic because that project is coming. So I wanted to know if you could share where they are on that project.
You're saying that there's an active project already on 154?
No,
No.
it's right here at the corner of Hamilton and Camp Creek.
Right.
Go ahead,
That's-
Harvey.
That's actually the one that I was asking Mr. McCullors about, that he's looking for feedback. What I did observe the other day was there were those rubber tubes across the road. So somebody's taking traffic counts right there at Reynolds and Campbellton Road. And I presume that's one of GDOT's design contractors.
Yeah, that's probably going into the design aspect or whatever. I do know they are planning a few projects in that area, and that's probably why you're seeing the traffic counts out there.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions with Mr. McCullers?
I do, Debbie.
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. McCullough, I don't know if this is your area, not of expertise or responsibility, but I don't know how what you call these things, but the median on Camp Creek Parkway, they have those things out there to keep people from crossing the median. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
noticed that someone is continuous, and I know it has to be deliberate, damaging them. Many of them have been damaged, particularly heading east toward the marketplace, say from Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Once you cross over Hamilton Road and head toward 285, several of them have been damaged. And I noticed that first of all, is this your area of
Yes,
responsibility?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. You're referring to the cable barrier.
What do you call those things?
They're called cable barriers.
Okay, cable barriers. Okay, several of them have been damaged, and this is I'm aware of the second time when I said several, I mean several, and I saw two trucks as I was leaving that day, replacing them, and when I came back, I don't believe that they left just 2 or 3 still damaged. I'm wondering if someone had damaged those 2 or 3 again. Do you all have any kind of mechanism for trying to identify who the perpetrators are? Because I think it's a part of the road racing and all of that, because I still hear that every night.
What I will post, Ivory, is the contact page for GDOT. And like a number of agencies, they rely on us to report it. So I encourage people to take advantage of that contact information, pick up the phone and the like, because it's a pretty large landscape for them to do proactive monitoring. And Georgia Power looks for your help in that regard, as well as the city for municipal services. So I'll put a couple more links up, but, and I can email you since oh no, you're on video. I'll email you some of those links.
Well, I don't think that, okay, surely they knew about it because they had repair people out there. My concern is it going to be constantly repairing, or is there any kind of way where they are trying to identify the perpetrators? Because as I said previously, I believe it's the same people that used to cross that median when those cable barriers were not there. And they're just running through them. And it'll be weeks before the repair is done.
The reality of it is there are not enough surveillance cameras around the city to catch that. I just encourage you to report it to the police, as we have in the past, about the traffic so that they can do some more enforcement efforts. But as it relates to GDOT, I don't know that they can proactively identify the culprits. They just don't have that ability. That's more of a law enforcement.
Well, I don't know, when I hear about satellites being able to take pictures and you can see license plates, I mean, to me, I don't understand, you know.
That's the federal government and NSA and NASA and those entities. I seriously doubt that the state of Georgia or the city has any satellites in orbit.
Well, what we'll do, the GDOT, where you put the link in the chat. Ivory, can you see the link in your chat?
No, I'm just out. No, I'm not even over on the chat part.
Okay.
And
Well, Harvey,
we can also always dial *511 and report items to GDOT.
star
*5
511.
on your phone. And
Okay. Okay. Ivory, you still have your hand up?
Let me take it down. I'm done.
Okay. Okay. Y'all, Catherine, our District 1 City Council person, I don't know if she's on the call. She has a meeting, so she's gonna join a little bit later. But I'm gonna take a minute to see if I can share my screen. Do y'all see the Starbucks? Can you see it? Can everybody see it?
No. It's in the chat room.
Well, I'm trying to share my screen 2.
Crap.
Share, okay, here we go. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what the new Starbucks look like. And if you see, it says the ribbon cutting groundbreaking ceremony is Friday, March 10th from 11 to 12. And it's going next to the Church's Chicken. Am I correct with that, Harvey?
yes. As you make that right turn into the complex, it's going to be right there on the left.
Right. And if you look at it, it's a pretty nice size. But I just wanted to give everybody a chance to see it. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Okay, is Councilman Rowell on the phone yet?
I am.
Oh, there you are. Welcome. You're
Thank you.
up next. Oh, before you start, thank you, Mr. McCullors, for joining us. We look forward to all of the wonderful projects that's coming in the community. So with that, Ms. Rowell, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, I'll just give a couple quick updates. You should know that we've had approval for, and you should see within the next 30 days, work being completed on the Danforth sidewalks. In addition, we were lucky to have the roofs replaced on all the pavilions on Trammell Crow Park last week. We're working on a number of capital improvements. And in March, they are anticipating that they'll bring the recommendation back to City Council for the replacement of the tennis courts at Trammell Crow. So again, we're gearing up for additional improvements in the park, as well as our city arborists will be doing tree trimming along Cascade Road. Long overdue. I'm super excited about that. And I guess those are the two biggest things. I see you already covered the fact that we had a grant opening or the ribbon cutting for the Starbucks. If you have opportunity, stop by. But if not, we'll really celebrate when we get to open it, more importantly. So again, those are the major things, and I'll open it up for questions.
One thing I wanted to share was the work that the city's been doing on Cascade Road. As you know, the model has changed, and they've planted about 3 or 4 dozen decorative bushes, shrubs in the median. They're doing a great job. They've replaced the pine bark, as well as trimmed the crepe myrtles. So
yes, we have bi-weekly maintenance of the medians and the roundabout at Bow Rock and Camilton Road. Again, we want to make sure we keep that pristine. I'm sure Mr. McCullough noted the fact that it was featured in GDOT's Georgia Milepost magazine. They featured our roundabout. So that's something that we can all be proud of, and the work that we did with the Sandtown Community Association to incorporate public art in that space.
Any other questions? For Councilman Rowell? Well, does anybody have any other comments in any way? We're on time, on schedule. It is 9:44. Marilyn, do you have anything? Get off of mute, Marilyn.
Good
there you go.
afternoon, or good evening, rather. I'm Marilyn Lee, and I just want to thank you all for sending in your contributions to Sandtown. As you know, the money that we send to the association goes toward the registration for the Secretary of State, goes toward our internet, it goes toward our post office box, and toward our calling post. I want to let you know how much we appreciate that.
Okay. Donald, do you have anything?
No,
Har-
I don't have
okay.
anything. Thank you.
Harvey?
I did observe in the council meeting, they approved the rezoning on Utoy Springs for a retail development there that's going to align with the roadway that goes past the Starbucks and the like.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I don't know how I forgot that one. I guess because it was just the other day. So if you know where the Shell gas station is, where we've had the cleaners and the warehouse that's across from Murray Brothers, those two structures will be demolished, and a brand new, it's not a huge plaza, but a retail space will be available that people can lease space in. But again, that will address what has been an eyesore for a very long time. So that's going to be great to see that going forward. And specifically what we're talking about, if you came out of where Starbucks is on the side and you look directly across behind the Shell, that's where we're talking about on Utoy Springs.
I have, and Dr. Raul, you know the property. First of all, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Hey, you know the property right here on Stone Bay Drive that they were going to put the senior apartments. Do you know what's happening with that?
I need to follow up, and it might be a good time, I think, to invite them back to Sandtown Community Association. I don't know. I know they were having some issues potentially with financing, but they may have gotten it resolved. As you know, the market changed. And so things are slowing down. Most of the projects that you'll hear me reporting out about, they've already been in play for a long time. Just like the Chipotles, you should see construction on that as well very soon. Not seeing as many new projects come forward. So I think it's time, Ms. Davis, to reach out to Mr. Coleman and kind of see where things stand.
Sounds good. I was just thinking about that. I was gonna reach out to Mr. Coleman for that project, and also reach out to Carter. You know, everybody is noticing, you know, they are moving like gangbusters on the apartment community, and as well as the retail space that's in front of it that will face Hamilton Road.
Right.
So I will invite those two next for our meeting next month. I heard something that was just, it was mind blowing. At the school board meeting, someone said, I thought they said, that there is a huge waiting list to get into those apartments already.
I have talked to Mr. Parker. He has not told me that, but he did tell me that their first buildings will be completed as early as May.
Wow.
not all of them. And so he reached out to me in reference to, they're trying to get through some issues with the city of Atlanta relative to their swimming pool, because they want their amenities, you know, they gotta have their amenities at the price points that they're charging, they're gonna have to have those amenities.
Right.
So, but I would believe that because there is a housing shortage in the metro area. So, I mean, it's possible.
Well, I will invite those two at our meeting next month so they can give us an update, because someone asked me about the senior community today and where it is. So I think people are anticipating and wanting to know when that's gonna start. So
I
we'll do
will
that.
tell you the second phase of Anthem 2 did open up. They may have some spots available. I toured the building. It is beautiful.
Mhm.
And they almost opened up with half full.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so again, the housing supply is an issue, especially for seniors. But I guess I did the coffee with a cop maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and they still have some availability over there if people are interested in that. So.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Also,
y'all,
they
go
got the
ahead, Harvey.
I was just going to mention, Catherine, the quick trip on Cascade seems to be underway.
Yeah, they're doing demolition of that.
Mhm.
And I also heard that we should probably see activity across the street in the city of Atlanta soon. For those who don't know, inside the perimeter where the Kroger is, you know, we've had that abandoned canopy there for a long time. That's where Quick Trip will go. And the 2 gas stations across the street will be demolished. And Aldi's will be on the opposite side of the street. The Aldi's grocery store, as well as the design studio, will have a new standalone building on that site.
So that's gonna
So a
really
lot of
change.
activity on Cascade. It will fundamentally change and improve the aesthetics significantly.
Absolutely. All righty. Stephanie, you're on the line. Do you have anything you want to add to the meeting tonight? Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Well, we just have continual growth going on in city of South Fulton. If people are in the market for buying, the buyers are given closing costs and incentives right now today. Don't know what's going to happen by the end of March or April, because the selling season starts off in March in Metro Atlanta. Builders are giving incentives as well, so it's a good time for buyers. People can do buy downs on interest rates, so it's a good time for people that are buying. For sellers, the homes are staying on a little bit longer, but things are anticipated to pick up, and Georgia is really growing, and they anticipate that the Atlanta metro area will do better than other markets in the US. So Atlanta metro area should maintain its own. And of course, we know that the South Fulton area is growing.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a good thing. I see someone from Commissioner Arrington's office on the line.
Yes, good evening. This is Meetza Henry with Commissioner Arrington's office. How are you?
How are you? Welcome.
Good, thank you. So yes, I was just waiting my turn, but I probably didn't. I don't think I messaged you quite yet, but I was just placing that in the chat. Commissioner Arrington will have a virtual district dialogues town hall this coming Monday at 6 p.m. It will stream on YouTube on our Fulton County Government TV page via YouTube, and also Zoom. They should have our Zoom link available soon, and I'll be able to send it out to all of the community leaders and place it on our social media pages as well. but just wanted to let you know of his upcoming.
Uh-oh, you're frozen, but thank you. I see it in the chat. And I hope everyone make note of it. It's in the chat. You can see it's on March the 6th, which is Monday at from 6 to 7 p.m. So thank you for joining us. Doug, I see you putting things in the chat. Do you want to speak to what you put there? Mr. Crawford?
Greetings. How are you?
We're great. I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm enjoying the Mexican sunshine,
I bet you are.
but I'm so glad to be with you. But yes, I am able to comment on those. The Sandtown Seniors Market Seniors development has, as Councilwoman Rowell has already said, was encountering some financing difficulties, as is almost everybody in real estate these days. But we do believe we have it back on track. And I think Mr. Coleman would be more than delighted to meet with you next month and fill you in. Hopefully he'll have very good news. He's still involved with the project, which I think is excellent. And we're very optimistic that he's been able to put it back together.
Great, great. I see you put that the Cascade Chipotle and Aldi.
Yes, there's a Cascade. Yeah, yes, there's a Cascade Chipotle, which is in permitting across from the Quick Trip that Councilman Rowell already mentioned, and next to the Aldi, the proposed Aldi at Cascade 285.
So there's gonna
then
be a
the design
Chipotle
center.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's gonna be a Chipotle there as well?
Yes,
Oh,
they love the area, and we do too.
cool. Go ahead, Doug. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that they love the area, and we do too. And the Quick Trip, I understand, as of today, is in permitting also. That's actually in the city of South Fulton. So as Councilwoman Rowell has already said, there's some pretty big activity going on at that intersection, and we're very excited about it.
Oh. I mean,
But
it's
we're coming back to Sandtown with some nice projects. So
okay,
we'll be seeing you on those in the next 2 or 3 months.
okay. All right, we'll be here.
I know.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Doug.
Thanks,
Well,
Doug.
thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
If no one
Thanks, Harvey.
else, oh, I'm sorry. If no one else has anything
Deb,
else.
I have a question of Doug. I have a question of Doug.
Okay, go right ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Yes, he mentioned all this coming to the Cascade area and generally, I guess, to the Sandtown area. I'm asking, would he try to pursue Lidl's?
Yes, in fact, I have reached out to Lidl's. They I don't know, they're being a little bit coy. They're expanding very slowly, and I don't want to put any words in their mouth, but they haven't been too eager to follow my request to come into the neighborhood.
Okay, because I think that, well, I'm sure Aldi's was the first in this market. And then Lidl has come, but I mean, I shop at both of them. And frankly, in my opinion, the people that I communicate with about it believe that Lidl is, their goods and services are better than Aldi. So either one is better than either. And that is better than not having one.
Well, yes, well, ironically, Lidl's had actually expressed interest in the Cascade site about 6 or 7 years ago. And then they went away, and Aldi came in and took the opportunity. But the Aldi store, as I understand it, is going to be a very, very special store. It's going to be considerably larger than their normal prototype. And supposedly pretty fancier too. So we'll see.
Okay.
They're a good operator, and I think it's going to be a very attractive store.
Well, I was satisfied with them until Lidl's came, and then the romance kind of died out a little bit.
Good. Well, this
There
is
you go.
exciting. We have a lot of good things that are happening in the community. Well, with that said, y'all, it's 7:59. We are on time. We will end this at 8 o'clock. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next month. I think it's April the 2nd. I think that is the date, but we'll send out all the information. So until then, be safe, enjoy your family. And
Excuse
we'll
me,
see
I have
you
a question, please.
Sure, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Didn't see
Can you
you.
tell me when and where this will be available to listen? Because I missed parts of it, but I'd like to listen to it in its entirety.
Go to the website at www.sandtown.org and we will post the recording there.
Okay, will it be today or in a few
Harvey
days?
will post it.
It depends on my energy level.
Understood, understood.
It'll probably be, give it 24 hours. How about that?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all and be safe and we'll see you next month.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.